Hi guys, so welcome to the daily recap show for Thursday the 28th of October. As always, we'll start with the FTSE. So the FTSE, we said we held the retest the breakout area yesterday at 72.43 to 48. So the reaction there could be very telling for the session and for the morning session in particular. And then we spoke about some higher resistance zones which we actually never got to. And then we also said if we saw sustained moves back below 72.43 to 48, we could see back into the chop zone and would be looking for support areas below. So let's go and see how the action played out today. Okay, so the market opened here, and we shot down through this, and then we had a bit of a false break signal. Now, I know we took out the overnight lows and everything like that, but we wouldn't take a false break signal back into this key resistance or this key zone that we've been talking about, this 43 to 48 zone. So this is not one that we would necessarily be looking at. If this had come down, just pierced that overnight low and come back and close up like this candle, then maybe that's something that we could look at because we're overall bullish and it would be a false break signal. But you don't take an entry back into what is quite a key zone in the market. So this, although it's a false break signal like we've been looking at the last couple of days, that's the difference as to why we would not take that one compared to the ones we've taken over the last couple of days. We then actually failed again at this 43 to 48 zone. And that was sort of telling for the rest of the day's action. We fell away quite impulsively down to this support zone at 72.20 to 26. I mean, you could have taken a long from here because we are still overall bullish, but back below that zone, we are back into a bit of a chop zone. As you can see, the market did sort of chop around for most of the day, but we did keep below this zone. So that move there down below that zone early in the session did actually set the tone for the rest of the session, where we used it as resistance here, we used it as resistance again here, and again here. So we used it as resistance several times, and that was all shown in that opening sort of 20 minutes of action. You could actually predict that. So or give a high probability chance that would happen. So we have broken below. We've accepted below that resistance or support, now turned resistance zone. We haven't seen anything impulsive, so therefore again that zone will be fairly key tomorrow. If we get some sort of acceptance back above the zone, then this could probably be considered a false break, and we'll be maybe moving on higher again. If we get some sustained moves back below this 72.20 area, maybe we're actually then moving back down towards the bottom of the range at sort of 71.80 to 90. So it'll be interesting to see the action again tomorrow. But today, that opening action there where we held below that sort of 72.43 to 48 zone was telling, and we actually then held that zone as resistance for the rest of the session. So on the DAX today, we said initial support comes in at the 670 to 685 area, and if that breaks, then we could, with some impulsive action, we could see 600 to 620. Higher time frame support much lower. Initial resistance remains at sort of 770 to 85, and then higher time frame resistance above. So we did also mention that we have the ECB rate announcement and press conference today, which is something to be careful because you can often see a little bit of chop in and around in the morning session, and a bit of a quiet session going into the ECB announcement. So it's always a day that you just want to be a little bit more careful, maybe keep leverage a little bit lighter, be much more selective around your trades. So yeah, something to be aware of. So let's go and have a look at today's action. Okay, so we opened up this morning around this sort of 670 to 685 area, and we said that was initial support. So like breaks with impulsive price action could see 600 to 620. Now we didn't get any breaks with impulsive price action, and actually about sort of 15 minutes into today's session, we generally sort of thought that this was going to be that choppy price action that we can sometimes see ahead of the ECB. And you can actually see right up until sort of 12 o'clock and 1:30, it's really, really poor price action on the DAX. So this is the open, right up to here, 1:30 there. That is the price action of the morning session up until the ECB. We got this little break below, and then it just comes straight back into the range. So there's nothing impulsive about it, nothing really decisive, and it was really a poor days worth of price action on the DAX today. Now let me just go and quickly show you something why we felt after just 15 minutes that this was potentially the case for today. And it's a lot of retail traders, they get themselves into trouble by trying to trade chop zones, and one of the best things that you can do, or one of the best skills you can build, is learning early on when maybe the market is going to chop. So I'll show you what we was looking at in real time as to why we actually sort of thought that might be the case today. Right, okay, so I'm just going to highlight here the first half an hour's worth of action, really, and this is sort of really where we can, well, let's say the first 40 minutes of action, and this is where you can really see why we felt there was nothing, there was going to be no clear direction today. You can see, so the market opened here. We had this first initial move up through that zone, and then we sold off impulsively back through that zone. There's no, so it clearly wasn't respecting this zone within that first sort of 5 to 10 minutes of price action. It's gone straight through it to the upside, straight back down through it to the downside. And when it come back, it then chopped around a little bit, straight up, and then when it come back and revisited that zone, it comes straight back through it again, and it just really was no clear direction. If this zone was going to hold, you'd expect like a impulsive breakthrough. You'd expect it to hold on the retest and then come back. Or if it was going to break down, even if you saw this initial chop, you'd like to think that when it come back down, then it would break further below, again, corrective pull back into this zone and hold it. So the fact that there's really no clear price action where it's not showing its hand around a zone that would mention in the report, it was 670 to 685, it's just oscillating back and through, it's not respecting it at all. That's sort of an indication right there that the market is just going to chop around. And like I say, in the first really 15-20 minutes we spotted this, but certainly in the first 30-40 minutes you've got no clear signals, no clear trading signals, and the price action was really poor to expect a trade. So that's just an early signal and an early way of identifying when maybe it's best to have a day out of the markets where the market's not going to respect levels and zones too much. So I hope you found this useful, guys. It's probably a good session, because obviously recently every one of these recaps that I do, we see how well the zones are respected. I mean, today's probably is the opposite of that. The zones were not respected really at all, but just to show you a little bit of price action as to how you can identify maybe when they're not going to be respected ahead of time to keep yourself out of trouble. So I hope you found that useful, and I'll speak to you all again tomorrow. Cheers.